My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Samas and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Today is a good day. We are going to be breaking down the doubles at the Wimbledon Championships, and I am joined by the one and only doubles expert, doubles guru, the man who delivers all of the doubles insights, Will Bocek, the founder of the Tennis Tribe. Will, thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me, Brenner. It's always fun to hop back on with y'all. I love seeing that intro with John. It's one of my favorite intros in the tennis world.
Yes.
And I love the ready play aspect of it specifically. But I'm excited to talk doubles. It was a really fun Wimbledon. The singles was exciting as well. A lot of seeds going out early in the singles, but the doubles, you had a lot of more kind of I guess big matchups a little bit later on in the draw on both sides, which was really exciting. So let's dive into it.
Beautiful. I think we should start with the men's doubles. We got historic British victory between Cash and Glasspool. Not only did they win the title, but they also ended an 89-year drought for an all-time British men's double pair at Wimbledon. And on the way, I believe they saved 3 match points, and that was in the quarterfinals. Can you talk a little bit about them, their run? How special was it?
Yeah. So this was a surprise to almost no one. They had been the best grass court team. Even though the grass court season is super short, for the grass court season we do have leading into Wimbledon, they were the best. They had won 2 consecutive titles. They made the finals of the one before that. So their record going into Wimbledon on grass this year was like 11-1 or 12-1, something like that. So, and these were titles against really, really strong teams. So for them to win it was not a huge surprise, but they did certainly have to work for it, as you'd expect. In the quarters, they played against the defending champions, Harry Hiliovara and Henry Patton. They won 10-8 in the third set tiebreaker, and they were down love 40 on their own serve at one point. So they had to save 3 match points there. And then in the semis, they faced the Roland Garros champions, Granollers and Zeballos, and really put on a serving masterclass. It was they faced 0 break points. They won the match 3-4. They had 11 aces to 0 and lost 9 points on their serve in 10 service games, which is just insane numbers. So they absolutely deserved the title. Like I said, it wasn't a huge surprise to anyone, but obviously winning a Wimbledon title is a massive feat and very, very difficult to do. And hats off to them. As far as the drought goes, it's a really cool, I guess, accomplishment. It's kind of a weird one though, because like Henry Patton's British, he won it last year, but he's playing with Harry Hiliovara, who's not British. So there have been British players to win Wimbledon, just not a British team. So obviously you have to have a British partner to make this happen. And I don't know how many British teams have made deep runs or have been necessarily at the top of the game over the last 89 years, maybe just a handful. So it's one of those headlines that's kind of like, I don't know, it's cool, but you take it kind of with a grain of salt, I guess, in my mind.
Right. Now, you mentioned it early already. You said there's such a good grass pairing. It didn't necessarily surprise many people. Can you talk a little bit about what makes them such a good team on the grass, for people who don't understand, I guess, how different the surfaces can be?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually asked this question to Julian leading into Wimbledon. So he came on my podcast, and I talked about what was working so well for them on grass. And the first thing he mentioned that makes perfect sense is both of them have very good serves. So grass is much more of a serve dominant surface because the ball kind of skids off the court. It stays a bit lower. It just makes it more difficult to return. So if you have a very good serve, you're going to get into a lot of tiebreakers. You're just going to be very, very difficult to break. And both of them have that. And both of them are very strong at the net as well as the server's partner. So if that return does come back, a lot of the time they're knocking it off at the net there. So you're in a much more defensive situation as the returner and as the return team on grass than, say, you would be like on clay or something like that. So
Yep.
That's kind of the big difference for grass. And yeah, it looks like John's showing us our Instagram channel. There's a few highlights from that podcast, and then you can listen to the full podcast as well if anybody wants to check that out. But Julian, talked about it there as well.
For sure. And I think an interesting view or angle, especially to our viewers, would be talking about, Rinky Hijikata and Pell. Obviously, it was a very entertaining semifinal, and I think it caught a lot of eyes. Can you just talk about some of the, I guess, the more entertaining matches, the more competitive matches that you saw throughout the championships?
Yeah, so their semifinal I thought was certainly the most exciting match of the tournament. They faced the top seeds, Marcelo Arevalo and Mate Pavic. The score was 6-7, 7-6, 7-6. So obviously the scoreline is entertaining in itself. But Rinky plays a very kind of highlight reel style of doubles. He's not the tallest player. He's not the best at the serve +1 volleys. He doesn't cover tons of space at the net because of his height, but he is so good from the baseline, especially when he has it going. When his returns get going, he can just hit otherworldly returns. And David Pell was hitting fantastic returns as well. And they were just kind of gelling throughout the tournament. There was 2 matches, including that one, where they saved match points. They were down in that third set tiebreaker. I think it was a 9-7.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
And the crowd, I think they were on court 1. It was pretty full. The crowd was just going nuts and loving it. And it was one of those matches that I watch and I'm like, I think to myself, there's just no way this product is not marketable. Like everyone is loving, whether they're watching this on TV or they're in person, like everyone is loving this. So it was definitely, in my mind, the most exciting match of the tournament, or at least that I watched. And Rinky specifically, who won the Australian Open in doubles several years ago, when he gets it going on returns and from the baseline, he just plays a very high risk game. It's high risk, high reward. When it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But when it does, it's very difficult to play against. And to take out the top seeds is a huge accomplishment to make a Wimbledon final. So it was really impressive and really fun to watch. If you want to watch an entertaining match, go back and watch the replay of that. At least the third set. It was super fun.
Totally. And I want to pick up on what you just said because, I'm looking at it again. Obviously 3 tie breaks, just short of 3 hours, 2 hours, 58 minutes. I wonder what the longest doubles match of all time is now. I assume it's at Roland Garros, but I don't know if you know that off the top of your head.
I don't know. It would definitely be a while ago because they used to play best of 5 sets in the men's doubles.
Oh, is that so?
Right?
Interesting.
So it definitely wouldn't be a recent one.
Got it. But picking up there, I mean, I was watching that match and it was on women's singles semifinals day. And I feel like, from the crowd, the noise, even people there were able to hear, it was played on court one and you could hear them. Just talk about, like, from the marketing perspective, I guess Wimbledon as a whole, how did they do? How have they done in the past in terms of, marketing, trying to get more eyes on the doubles events?
Yeah, this year I tracked it probably closer than I ever have. And I don't think it's just Wimbledon. Roland Garros was the same way. We'll see how the US Open does. It's borderline non-existent on social media. We, watched that semifinal match, and there was probably 10, maybe 20 points in that match that you could have clipped as a highlight reel and posted on social media, and it would have done really well, because there was just so many fun lobs and angles and baseline winners and net play. It was just awesome, and we don't get to really see almost any of it again. Whereas, of course, if you're watching like Djokovic or Alcaraz or Sabalenka or Iga, if they have an epic point, you're going to see it on Instagram and Twitter later, right?
Yep.
So I think it's an area that, Wimbledon, but tennis as a whole can do a better job of, have some kind of quota. Like, if I'm running the Wimbledon social media team, it's like, okay, for every 100 singles posts, we're going to do 10 about doubles. Like, we have to do 10. And that means, like, if we're averaging 50 singles posts a day, we're going to do 5 doubles posts every day. Like, pick our best highlights, or maybe do something on the practice court with the doubles pair, whatever it is. But it's just a easy thing to do where the systems are already in place and they're running this doubles tournament. So, like, why not market your product? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Agree. And something that comes to mind is even just like the fun little Q&As that the tour does, whether at the start of the tournament, just getting the team members, because I think that's the great thing about doubles is it's a team, right? It's not a coach and a player dynamic. It's two partners together, who obviously work very hard with, chemistry, trying to, do the best they can for one another. And I think there could be, fun sort of ways to connect with the media, especially kind of earlier on in the tournament. And then, you're able to, before that match, play like a fun little script that they, did in the media days and whatnot. I think there's definitely ways that the ATP can, start to at least incorporate that and incorporate the teams together. But getting back to the men's draw, were there any pairings that you think, was a big letdown, or on the flip side, any big surprises that you want to mention?
Obviously Hijikata and Pell were a surprise. They were the second alternate team to get into the tournament. So what that means is basically they had to wait around for 2 teams to pull out of the tournament. They didn't initially qualify. That's not uncommon for a second alternate to get in, but it just shows you kind of how far down the list they were, and then they go on and make a run all the way to the finals. As far as teams to that disappointed, nobody particular. I feel like Hijikata and Pell did take out the 3 seeds, Kravitz and Poots, in the 3rd round.
Right.
That was certainly an upset, but then they went on to make the final. So looking back on it, it didn't look maybe as bad after the tournament as it did maybe at the time. So there weren't a ton of massive upsets in my mind. And the men's doubles tour is so deep on any given day, and the margins are so thin, especially on grass, like we talked about, where the serve is so dominant. On any given day, anybody can win. And we did have 6 of 8 teams in the quarterfinals were top 10 seeds. So not a ton of massive upsets throughout the men's side.
Yep. Now, another thing that comes to mind, Will, especially when I'm just like looking at sort of the early rounds, it's kind of from a doubles perspective, from a pairings perspective, are are some of these guys, when they go up against, two high level singles players, there are singles players that, will play doubles, typically with the same player. For example, I know Diallo and Bergs like to play together. I'm not sure if Mahach and Mensick have continued to do that, but kind of like, what's the mentality, I guess, from both perspectives? Like kind of what's the doubles pairing going in thinking about, and versus, two singles players who just aren't playing doubles as much. I don't know if I worded that correctly. I'm just trying to kind of understand the dynamic on how I see it.
Yeah, I think for the singles players, I think it depends. Some of the singles players play doubles kind of casually just to get an extra match or two in and get a feel for the courts, and they just have a good time. And like they're not that. I mean, they're trying, but they're not, as locked in as somebody as a doubles player would be, because the doubles player, that's their livelihood, right?
Right.
And some of the singles players take it a bit more seriously and are very good at doubles as well. I mean, Hijikata is an example, right? Like his two best results of his career were in doubles, winning the Australian Open and then now making the Wimbledon final. But he's a singles player too. Like he's, I think, top 100, or he certainly was at some one point. So you see this more on the women's side, but there's a lot of men's players who are in that like 50 to 100 range who are also very good at doubles.
Jordan Thompson
and Max Purcell, who made the Wimbledon final last year, are both very good singles players and happen to have better doubles results because maybe their skill set or whatever it is just is better tailored for doubles.
Right.
As far as the mindset of the doubles team going into that, like, I've asked this question a lot to players, when you draw two singles players first round, for example, how do you approach it? And there are things they do different tactically, for sure. But from a mindset perspective, they approach it the same way. They know that they're going to get maybe a little bit bigger serves or a little bit better returns, and they want to maybe not get into those baseline rallies with the singles players quite as much. But generally, when you see that matchup, the doubles players typically win that matchup because they're training for this, and it's a very different skill set that the singles players don't have. And we saw that. We see that throughout the season. We saw it at the Olympics last year. We had an all doubles specialist final at the Olympics. So that's how the doubles players from the ones I've talked to generally think about it.
Great. Thank you for that. Any last comments on the men's side? I'm thinking like as you approach that title match, was there any doubt in your mind that Cash and Glasspool don't take it? Or, I mean, look, Hijikata and Pell, definitely deserving run, and you gave him a fair shot.
Yeah, I mean, I've Cash and Glasspool were the favorite going in, and you knew if they served well, like it was just going to be out of Hijikata and Pell's hands. And they served well enough to win it. I think kind of stepping back, this is one of the times of the year where you start to kind of look at the race to the year-end finals. So that win moved Cash and Glasspool into first ahead of Arevalo and Pavic. But then you start to look at kind of 5 through 8 and beyond that to figure out who's going to make it to the ATP finals. And the next month is going to really make a lot of moves for some teams because we have Montreal and Toronto, and then we have Cincinnati, and then obviously the US Open. So that's always something kind of fun to follow towards the end of the season.
Awesome. Well, maybe we can have a little word on it after, we go with the women's and a little bit on the mixed. Are we good to move on to the women's side?
Let's take a look at the women's draw.
Sure thing. So it was, I guess, a storyline. The top seed, Townsend, Siniakova, they lose to Ostapenko and Shea Sue.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah, so it was a rematch of the Australian Open final. They're certainly two of the best teams and two of the best players of the last 10 years on the doubles court in Shea Sue and Siniakova. I think, going in, I would have expected Siniakova and Townsend to win as the defending champs and having beaten Shea and Ostapenko, in Australia in the major earlier this year. But with Ostapenko, she can always play super well and just kind of take the racket out of your hand. And Sue is just a brilliant doubles player. She's kind of a tactician, I guess you'd say. She certainly, does not overpower you. She places the ball well. She moves well at the net. She's very consistent from the baseline. So it's an interesting kind of clash in styles a little bit almost. But yeah, that wasn't like a overwhelming upset, but I wouldn't have picked it before that match for sure.
Right. And yeah, let's talk about the champions, Veronika Kudermetova and Elise Mertens. I think this is, you can tell me, but her 5th Grand Slam title?
For Mertens, yeah, it might be around her 5th. I'm really bad. We don't have Hamlin on today. He's the doubles historian.
Okay.
I'm really bad at remembering facts because they're not like applicable, I guess, to me. I don't know why my brain works like that, but yeah, Mertens has multiple Grand Slam titles, probably around 5, if not 5. This was Kudermetova's first. She made the Wimbledon final. I think it was 2021, and she played against Mertens and Shea Sue, and she was serving for the match, and she lost. So this was kind of not a revenge. That's the wrong word, but I don't know. It kind of came full circle for her to be able to come back and win this match. It was a really exciting match. They made some really good adjustments between the first and second and third sets. The big takeaway from me was how well Kudermetova played at the net. That kind of was the difference maker for me in that third set. Shea and Ostapenko were up 3-1, I believe. And I think they had a point or two, or they were very close to getting it to 4-1. So they couldn't stretch that lead. And then Mertens and Kudermetova took advantage of it. And what I noticed when Ostapenko and Mertens would get into a baseline rally, Shea was a bit more hesitant than I've seen her in the past to poach and to make a move. And I don't know if that was part of the game plan to just let Ostapenko out rally Mertens and assume Kudermetova wasn't going to move. But what happened was Kudermetova ended up poaching before Shea did. And that to me was the difference in that third set. She kind of took control at the net a bit more. Even if she doesn't have the same kind of double skills that Shea does, being able to move like that at the net paid dividends for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, Kudermetova also, a very solid singles player. Hasn't been amazing for her recently, but really awesome to see her, getting it done and seeing success on the double side. I want to mention another team, probably a team that maybe draws more clicks, as I say it. Probably the best way to put it. Mira Andreeva and Diana Schneider. They went out to Kalinskaya and Kirstia. Can you talk a little bit about their pairing?
Yeah, they're really a strong doubles team because they're such good singles players, but they also have pretty good doubles instincts, and they're getting better, especially Andreeva. Schneider seems to, at least from what I've seen, studying them more over the last year, Schneider seems to be the better, or at least have the higher doubles IQ in my mind. But Andreeva's getting better at it. And because they're such good singles players, I mean, they've got all the tools. It's just a matter of kind of putting it together and knowing where to be and choosing the right shot at the right time, which is one of the reasons, I love doubles so much. I think studying that stuff is just fascinating. Yeah, they lost to Kalinskaya and Kirstea. It was a 3-set match. Not a massive upset. I feel like with Andreeva and Schneider, because they're such a young pairing, they can have matches where maybe they play a little bit loose for a few games and it costs them the match, or they don't quite have the focus. And obviously their priority is singles, so they've got that going on as well. But anyways, yeah, I mean, they're a really strong team, and I really, really hope, especially as Andreeva continues to climb the singles rankings, that they continue to play doubles, because it's great for the doubles game to have them as a part of kind of the top of it.
Right, and they've played a few years together now. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when they first teamed up, but yeah, they've been appearing for a little bit now.
Okay, and I think another team that deserves at least a little bit of a conversation is Arani and Paulini. Obviously, the French Open double champions. They went out fairly early to Barbara Krejcikova and Chan. You want to talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, I mean, they're a better clay court team, I would
Right.
say, for sure, especially Arani. Paulini made the singles final at Wimbledon last year, so she can hang on the grass for sure. But when we talked earlier about the serve dominance, Arani doesn't have the strongest serve, and that hurts a bit more, I believe, on grass.
Totally.
On clay, I feel like you can defend a bit better. So what you saw at Roland Garros is, if Arani missed her first serve, especially, and they might have even run this on first serve in a couple of matches, Paulini will come back to the baseline. So she'll be hitting a second serve with both players at the baseline and basically saying, go ahead and hit through us. On grass, that doesn't work, because you can return and volley and hit through the server and the server's partner if they're both back at the baseline. And it's just a lot more difficult to defend because that ball gets through the court so much quicker. I didn't get to watch that match, but Krejcikova, I mean, she's got multiple Grand Slam titles with Siniakova. Chan is also a great doubles player who's been around a while, has at least 1 or 2 Grand Slams, I believe. So, yeah, it wasn't a super. I would say the score line was a little bit shocking, but it looks like Chan does not. She made the final of Wimbledon in 2017. Okay, so no Grand Slam titles. But the scoreline was a little bit surprising for it to be 3-2, one-sided like that. But again, I didn't get to watch that one, so it could have been closer than the score indicated.
Okay, for sure. Another thing that comes to mind, and this totally could not happen so often, but how many times do you see a team have to withdraw? Let's go with round of 16 because of singles implications in terms of one of the players going deep in the singles.
Yeah. I mean, this happens. I don't have exact numbers on this. It'd be interesting if somebody could run look it up and run kind of a database on it, or an analysis of it, I guess. But yeah, it does. It certainly does happen. I feel like it's more on the men's side because they're playing. I mean, at the Grand Slams, the singles players simply just don't enter the doubles because they're playing best of 5. Yeah. It happens a lot at the 1,000 level events, especially on the men's side.
Yes.
That's where it becomes an issue. And there's all sorts of solutions that people have, or potential solutions that people have for it. I don't know if I feel super strongly about one particular solution, so I don't really care to comment on it a whole lot, but it is a problem. It's very annoying to both players and fans, and it's might even be a little bit annoying to the tournament as well.
Right. I've seen it a lot, and as you said, 1,000s is definitely most common. But sometimes it can go the other way when a player does lose early and they have something that's, I guess, to fall back on, or at least they can continue playing in the tournament. I guess that is good for the doubles. But any other things you wanted to touch on? Any upsets or underwhelming performances on the women's side?
Yeah, the women's side, I mean, we had 6 teams or 6 seeds in the top or the quarterfinals, 6 out of 8 seeds. So again, like a lot of top teams made deep runs. The semifinal team, Olivia Gadecki and Desiree Kravchuk, were the unseeded team. That was only slightly surprising. Kravchuk has made the Wimbledon semi 3 out of 4 years now. So she's very good on the grass, and Olivia Gadecki is a good doubles player who, is focused more on singles now and getting her singles ranking up. But she's a very strong doubles player as well. Made a deep run at the Australian Open mixed earlier this year. But yeah, it was a strong showing. I mean, honestly, I felt like the men's and women's draws were really exciting with tons of good matches. I feel like it was a good year for doubles all around, including the mixed, which we'll get to next.
For sure. I feel like that's a perfect transition. Well, might as well go for it.
So the story of the tournament was the winners, Sim Verbeek and Katerina Siniakova. It was Siniakova's first mixed doubles title. And I talked with Dan Kiernan about this on his podcast last week. He coaches Gabby Dabrowski and Michael Venus and a few other ATP and WTA players. And we were trying to figure out, why does Siniakova have 10 women's doubles Grand Slam titles and 0 in mixed? And one person on Twitter mentioned that she plays the deuce side a lot in mixed. She played the ad this past week with Verbeek. So that is potentially one reason. And then Dan mentioned that he thought a lot of the guys are maybe just like afraid to ask her, or they don't ask her for some reason. So it was, I guess it was kind of a partnership thing is what he was saying. But she gets her first mixed title. Watching them was a lot of fun because Sam has like a very gracious, like energetic personality. He was very like excited on the court after each win, and his celebrations were fun to watch. So it was really cool to watch that. Outside of that, honestly, I didn't get to watch a ton of the mixed. And I feel like I say this every single Grand Slam, and I talked about it with Dan last week. The U.S. Open is changing the mixed to week 0, I guess, or week 1, fan week, qualifying week, whatever you want to call it. And, I don't like all of the changes that they're making. But I will say, like, usually with Grand Slams, I want to watch the mix, but I'm keeping up with the men's doubles, the women's doubles, trying to watch as much as I can of that. So to keep up with a third draw it's just not easy. And I don't have a good solution for it, but I do find myself, I've noticed over the last year or two, like I don't watch that much of the mixed, which is tough. And I would love to. Like, it's so entertaining and so fun, especially live. So
right now, Will, let me ask you: does the mixed draw, is it solely compromised of players who are in the women's doubles and men's doubles, or is there some utility players, for example, a player who's only playing in the mixed?
I think that's a good question. I think it's all women's and men's. I don't see anyone in here who is not in the women's or men's draw. Okay. I'm looking at the Wimbledon mixed draw right now. I don't know if that's been done before or not. I know Navratilova won her last major in mixed doubles in 2006. And I don't know if she was also in the women's doubles draw.
Interesting. Okay.
She was like 50 something years old and won a major.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So that would be one to look at. Like, that's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know what the rules are around it, though. I'm really not sure.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking, in terms of how their schedule is produced, given the 2-week stretch, and trying to play, 2 events and trying to find practice times and whatnot. It's definitely a little bit more of a lot more motion going on in that sense. I think there are some classic pairings though. Irani Vavasori, is that a classic one?
Yeah, I mean they've been probably the best mixed doubles team the last year. They won the U.S. Open last year. They won Indian Wells earlier this year, and then won Roland Garros as well. So yeah, they've been over the last year or two one of the best, or if not the best, mixed doubles team. Shea and Zielinski have had a good year and a half. They won 2 titles last year. They were defending champions here and lost in the quarterfinals. And there's some, a few All-American teams have paired up. Desiree Kravchuk's always a really strong mixed doubles player with Neil Skupski. They've got a couple mixed majors together, including a Wimbledon. So there are a few kind of classic pairings that you always have an eye on when the draws come out.
Got it. I mean, any last words on the mixed draw, Siniakova?
No, I mean, I feel like, it was, like I said, it was an exciting Wimbledon. All 3 draws had really strong teams all the way through till the end. And then you had your dark horse story in Hijikata and Pell, or underdog story, if you want to call it that. It'll be fun to keep up with the ATP and WTA races throughout the rest of the year. A lot of the news is going to be around the U.S. Open mixed doubles. What are they going to do with those 8 wild cards? Are they going to give some of the doubles specialists a chance? Or is it going to go to almost exclusively singles players? I'm sure we'll see Taylor Townsend playing, but outside of that, I'm just not sure. So it'll be an interesting later half of the year. I think a lot of changes are coming. Hopefully more for the positive than the negative. But I really want to see better and more marketing from the tours and from the tournaments.
Right. And I wanted to ask you that because I feel like I could lay out a few questions, whether it be US Open, marketing, doubles play in general, and you could go on and talk about it for 20 minutes. But I want to give you an opportunity to just talk about something. I guess we'll stick with the media side because you brought it up. Just a quick kind of what can the ATP Tour, WTA Tour, tennis in general, especially when you have this super marketable opportunity coming up in the next month, what can they do? You got 2 1000s. What's just a starting point? It's such a good Wimbledon, so much opportunity to use this momentum. I feel like, how could they proceed in the best way in your eyes?
So, if they're going to listen to this, here's what I would tell them. Give me access to all of the doubles highlights, and I will post them on Tennis Tribe social media, and that will be the exclusive doubles social media for the ATP and WTA Tour. That's it. Just outsource it. If they're not going to do it themselves, then let someone else do it. What happens is if I, or if you all grab a doubles highlight and post it, say it's Roland Garros or Wimbledon, it gets taken down from YouTube or it gets taken down from Instagram if it's just the point by itself because of TV rights. So they're holding the content for themselves and not using it at all and not marketing it at all. So give it to us if you're not going to use it yourself.
Why aren't they marketing it in your eyes?
I don't know. I don't have I've been looking for an answer for that for 5 years. I mean, the best guess I have is like what they're doing is working and they are afraid of change or resistant to change just because they're like stuck in their ways. I mean, if you look at tennis, tennis is not an innovative sport, right? Like it's just kind of a cultural thing. We don't change things a lot. Part of the problem is because there's so many different governing bodies, but because there's not a lot of innovation, things are just going to stay the same. And what's working is posting, 50 times a day about singles. 25 of those are about Alcaraz and Sinner. 15 of them are about Iga, Coco, Sabalenka, and those are all great. Like, I'm not bashing those things. It's just like, why are you running a doubles tour if you're not going to invest in it? It's just strange to me. But yeah, I mean, that's the best explanation I have, but I don't really have a good answer.
No, thank you for that, Will. I think that's perfect for now. And, people can hear that, use it, learn from it, and go from there. I do want to finish up and talk a little bit about Siniakova, Katerina Siniakova, obviously one of the best doubles players in the world. Not only does she pair with a talented Taylor Townsend, but obviously we just saw she comes off and wins Wimbledon, the mixed doubles. Talk a little bit about her perspective approaching this U.S. Open situation.
Yeah. So I just read an article by Carol Bouchard. You could probably find it, anybody listening, if you just Google like Carol Bouchard Siniakova U.S. Open. It's on Substack. Her Substack is called Tennis Sweet Spot. It's a pretty long article about Siniakova and about the U.S. Open and kind of her views on it. It looks like John's showing it to us right there. And basically my takeaway from it is that she's doing the best she can to, stay number one in the world in doubles, win as many doubles titles as she can. And she wishes that more people recognized it. And I wish that too. Like, I'm right there with her. It is incredible what she's done over the last 5 or 10 years on the doubles court. And, if she walked around most places outside of her home country, like, she probably wouldn't get recognized. But if you took someone comparable, at this point, I don't even know who you would say is comparable on the men's side. Like, Alcaraz has 5, Siniakova has 11. So it's more than double.
Yeah.
So anyways, I mean, he's younger and I get that. But anyways, like, she is like a doubles GOAT over the last 10 years. And the tours and the tournaments and just tennis culture, it's not any one specific tour or one specific tournament. Tennis culture just doesn't appreciate doubles right now. And definitely read the article, but she seems a little bit, disappointed by it, sad about it, and hopes that it will change.
For sure. Yeah, everyone, please, do give that a read if you have the opportunity. It's important because, these players' voices feel like they're not heard enough. And, this time when one of the best is talking, everyone should hear.
Yeah, it's a really good article too. It's really well done by Carol and the writing's really good. So, yeah, and you can go down a rabbit hole because she's got links to a bunch of other different stuff. So it's good insight.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, Will, I just want to thank you so much for joining us and coming on to talk to us. We're always welcoming you and look forward to more discussions as, the coveted U.S. Open does approach. And I hope, there's more conversations there that we can have and there's more attention towards the sport. But once again, thanks so much for joining and really appreciate your time and insights.
Awesome. Thanks, Brenner. I appreciate you having me on again, and I will talk to you all around the U.S. Open, I'm sure.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.